Hey sis, before we jump into today's conversation, we wanted to give you a trigger warning as we will be exploring themes of sexual assault in today's episode.
Why do we have to honor men with the way we dress, but men don't have to honor us in the way they treat us?
Oh, but like being a kid, like being 7 or 8 or 9 and your mother or your auntie telling you to cover up because uncles are coming round and stuff like that.
Let me tell you a story.
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney, and we are your online big sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
Now, we are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we are going to be having a very juicy one. Very juicy topics. We're going to be talking about modesty and body politics. Yes. Should women be allowed to wear whatever they want? Or is it true that what you wear has bearing on your character? And what are the repercussions of dictating how women dress in today's day and age?
Ooh.
I know you have serious smoke for this topic. I am super excited to hear what it is you have today. Like I'm actually here to be an observer.
I'm screaming.
Yeah, I'm here to be a listener today. It's a true interview.
Oh, get out of this.
But before we get into today's conversation, we are going to be doing what we have been for the last few weeks, which we actually have been. I've been enjoying dilemmas. But yeah, we've got a dilemma from you. Sorry. Yeah, we have a dilemma from you for you. Yeah, so today's dilemma, let me read it out. Hi sisters. Hey. That wasn't even planned. Loving the podcast and recently discovered you on YouTube and wanted your advice on money management. Growing up, I wouldn't say I ever had a formal financial education from my parents or from school. I'm currently in a full-time role, but I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck and I'm not sure how to start with saving or investing. Any tips on starting my financial journey?
Ooh, that's a
yeah.
great dilemma, and I feel like it's super relevant to a lot of our
100%.
listeners.
100.
Irrespective of age, I think that there's a lot of people that we both know, as well as a lot of people in our community that can definitely resonate with that. And it's funny because we were literally just having a conversation about investing because of how crazy investing has been going over the past like few weeks.
Specifically the crypto market.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that is
just talk. But in terms of being at the beginning of your financial journey, the first thing that I would say is actually observe and read. Okay. I know that we, in the last episode, one of my favorite quotes from you, Courtney, to this day, you're not an expert, you're a researcher. That
research is important, guys. I just want to say.
Research is super, super important.
Yeah.
And I think there's certain things that you need to do before you start your financial journey. You need to actually understand key concepts around financing, like budgeting or investing. Like, what do those things actually mean? And when we're thinking about things like bank accounts, what kind of bank accounts are there and what do you currently use? So I would say, first of all, get clued up on the very, very basic, fundamental financial stuff. Yeah. And then you can start getting practical. So for example, in the dilemma, sis states that, she's living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. I think it would be good to analyze your bank statements and have a look at where your paycheck is going. Yeah. So that you overcome that feeling of living paycheck to paycheck, right? It's all about intentionality. You need to take control of your money and not let your money take control of you. So what are your biggest expenses? It might be something as basic. This is literally my favorite tip to everybody starting out. Get a spreadsheet and log all of your expenses and plan out the next month exactly how you spend what you spend.
And they always say like budget down to zero, like leave no penny unaccounted for.
Absolutely. So figure out what are your biggest recurring expenses. So that might be rent, that might be any kind of like phone bill you have, any other bills that you're paying, and then figure out where is the rest of your money going. Are you buying clothes? Are you buying shoes? Are you buying food? Because that delivery will catch you off guard. So I would definitely say get an understanding and a picture of where your finances are actually going first and foremost before you can start thinking about how can I reallocate my budget such that I can make my money go further. So that's definitely the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is make sure you actually do have a savings account. A lot of people allegedly have, they save, but they don't actually have a savings account. Or they don't have an actual pot of money in case of,
so you mean like a separate account?
Actually having a separate emergency fund is super helpful. And before you get a credit card, you haven't given any details here as to whether you have a credit card or a credit account or anything like that. research the one that actually works for you. So before I opened my credit card account, Courtney opened hers before I did. And I was like, Courtney, girl, give me the DL. Which card did you get? And a couple of my other friends as well to figure out which was the best option for me.
Yeah.
So really skirt around and look around for a credit option that would actually work for you.
Yeah.
Because another key element of like your financial history and building up your financial welfare is making sure you're in good standing when it comes to credit.
Yes.
Now, when you've got all of those basics down, that's when you can start thinking about investing and side hustling and all of that kind of good stuff. But I've spoken quite a bit about the basic stuff and getting up to the investing / side hustling part. I'm gonna segue over and pass it on to Courtney to take the this is the thing, she always acts surprised. Surprise.
Hello.
The fountain of knowledge.
Wow.
I'm gonna pass it on to Courtney to talk a bit more about the side hustling / investment.
Cool. So I actually wanted to touch on something you said about credit cards. I think it's important to know you have with your whole saving journey, your whole financial journey. I think the easiest way for me to have done it was setting goals and being really goal oriented. So I, similar to you, like whilst I was at university, I never had a credit card. I didn't have any experience with borrowing money and having to pay it back apart from my phone contract. And I was on a SIM only contract. And that was building up my credit history. The thing about credit is everyone kind of gets obsessed about their credit score, but your credit score is an indicator of your credit history. And it's your credit history that you need to be more concerned about. So credit history is basically what is your behavior when it comes to borrowing on a monthly basis. When you borrow money of any kind, when you borrow any kind of technology or anything, if you do anything on like paying in installments, you're basically taking out a line of credit. If you have a credit card, that's credit. If you are doing like buy now, pay later, that's credit. So your phone bill, when you have your phone bill, do you pay every month when they demand, part of that payment back? If you don't, your credit history is going to show you don't really manage debt well. Or if you have a credit card, for example, or if you've never had a credit card and your credit score is quite low, you may want to get a credit card not because you need the money, but because you need to build up your credit history, right? Yeah. And because of that, I think one thing that I advised you and what I had to do for myself was I'm taking a credit card not because I need the money, but because I need to build my credit history so I can get a credit card which will boost my score faster, but maybe more high risk. Yeah. So I have 2 credit cards which have really high APRs. And when I was talking to people, they were advising me against it. But when I talked to my accountant, this is not financial advice. I just want to put that thingy down. I'm just giving my experience. It happens to be on camera.
Gotta give those disclaimers.
Yeah, 100%. But when I spoke to my accountant, he was like, you know what? You don't need the money. Get a card that has, maybe a smaller limit, but high interest rate. If you are going to, use only 10%. I only use 10% of my credit. So my utilization is quite low. I have a card, say for example, the limit is £500. I never spend more than £50 on that card in a month. Then I pay it back. As soon as they demand the balance, boom, you're getting your money back. I don't pay any interest on any of my credit cards, even though the interest is 39%. I don't pay any interest because I always pay on time. If you don't really need the credit, you don't need the money, but you need the credit history, that is a good way to go about it because those cards are really easy to get. But if you're also trying to build up over time and maybe you do need the money, or even if you don't and you just don't want to take the risk, get something with a lower APR and just use it over a longer period of time. But I saw my credit score literally skyrocket in just 3 months doing it that way. There's some other technicalities to it, but that's what I wanted to say about credit. Just know what your goal is. And generally with saving, know if you're saving towards a particular goal. Is it an emergency fund just in case work kind of becomes a bit funny, or maybe you're trying to make a career transition and you need savings for that? Are you saving for a house, a car, a nice bag, whatever it is, a holiday, whatever it is, just make a pot for it, like Renee said. So in terms of going from side hustle to like investment, the first thing that you've got to do is kind of invest in, like we always say, invest in yourself. And when I say that, it's not invest in yourself as in go and read loads of books and make sure you feel happy. Yeah. I mean, in the sense that you are your highest return. A lot of times people will say, you know, especially if you're in the financial like space, people are like, oh, your savings account is only making you, I mean, interest rates currently are 0.01%. Yeah. I was telling you about my savings account that they keep giving me like 15p every month. Ridiculous. Yeah. And this is not a small account. Anyway, people always say, oh, your ISA is only going to give you 0.01%. If you invested in like stocks and shares, you could get like 10% increase. Or if you were on like cryptocurrency, you could even get like, I mean, I'm seeing people with like Dogecoin. You can see people are literally going like millions of percent in return, right? But the thing about that is there is no kind of return like the one you can bring yourself. If you invest in, you know, maybe an online course, or you invest in teaching yourself a skill, you can maybe invest like £100 into yourself to learn a new skill you're already talented at. Yeah. Work really hard and make sure you're putting in the effort, because your bet is on you. Your bet is on the fact that you can do the work. You've already got your full-time job. You're doing the work. But if you can make your money stretch further, I think the first place is to invest it in you. If you do the work, you can turn, I mean, I was able to turn a side hustle that I invested maybe £200 in on myself when I was 16 into 100K by the time I was 23. So I think it's important to realize you are your best investment, because you can flip money with effort. Mm-hmm. Then the next thing is, if you want to do more passive investing, just get educated. I'm not even going to give you advice because I'm at the beginning of that journey. Absolutely. I don't know what to tell you, sweetie. But what I can say is, before you go and look at these like advanced things, invest in education. Like Renee said, invest in education. To be honest, we're going to do an episode on education very soon, probably the week after this. And it's important for you to really know what it is you're doing. Don't just go based off of what everyone else is doing. You know, people are talking about crypto, people are talking about this. Don't just, you know, start moving on things and being impulsive when money is at risk, especially when you may not be growing up from a background where there is a lot of money and there's a lot of financial stability. If you end up losing money because you keep taking these risks, they're not really investments, they're gambles. And gambling is a very dangerous game with money that you need. So I would say get educated on those financial aspects. The way you can get educated: podcasts, books, YouTube is like my favorite avenue to do it, but also network. And that way you'll get to know more information. If you sign up to the mailing list, we can send you some of our favorite like financial podcasts, books. Well, books is more so you. I can send you the podcast and the YouTube videos and channels and stuff. So yeah, we're happy to help in that way. That's quite a long answer, but I hope it will start.
I think it was a good answer though.
Okay, good.
Very, very good answer.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So good luck on starting your financial journey. Hopefully all the money starts
more
coming your way,
and
baby.
More money, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, we've come to that time. Oh, sorry. Let me even say, if you would like to send us a dilemma, you can email us at hello@tomysisters.com, or you can DM us at tomysisterhood on Twitter or on Instagram, and we will answer when we, you know, do the
next episode.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Modesty and body politics. I'm so ready.
Where's my coffee at? Like,
to be honest, it's going to be one of those ones. I can already tell I'm tired in advance, but it's going to be good. So let's get into it.
Let's go. I'm ready.
So how would you describe modesty? Right? Like, I'm just going to throw that simple. How would you describe modesty?
That's even a loaded question.
Yeah.
But for me personally, modesty is about honor.
Oh.
So to me, modesty is, how do I honor myself and honor my body through the way that I portray myself? Usually it's through clothing or just like holistically, you know, how you look. Yeah. But to me, modesty is very much about honor. And I think
unpack honor. What does honor mean?
Oh goodness.
Yeah, we're going deep.
This is a difficult
today.
Well, it's not really a difficult one. It's, as someone that is a Christian, modesty and honor is slightly different to how we perceive it. I guess how the rest of the world may perceive it, or rather the less, not even less, how the rest of the world perceive it, right? And modesty and honor is very much tied to how can I represent God in the way that I carry myself.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, honor, very much about how do I glorify God through through the choices I make around what I wear.
Right.
So that's to me what honor is.
Right.
And then modesty as an offshoot of honor. So honor is something that's more so, how do I glorify God?
Yeah.
Like, how do I honor God? And then modesty is an offshoot of honor in the sense of that manifested through physicality. So how do I portray that? How do I portray that in my physicality?
Right.
Is the long and short of it.
Right. Okay.
That's how I would
describe
modesty.
Okay. I really like that you even brought in the religious aspect, because I think when people do think about modesty, not only is it kind of like thought of as this kind of archaic traditional thought, it is hugely tied to religion.
Absolutely.
You know, as Christians, but also our sisters who are in Islam and other like faiths.
Yep.
That concept of modesty as women particularly, but also for just as, you know, I guess modesty being tied to humility and like the idea of, you know, being a humble person, but also as women, kind of the way we dress can often be seen as, you know, that's a great manifestation of modesty that's meant to start from within. You know, your heart should be in a modest place. It should be in a humble place. It shouldn't be, I guess, like other things like which we can talk on is the sexual aspect, right?
We'll
There's this kind of sexualization of the female body, has to be covered up, and that's what's become associated with modesty. So I kind of wanted to give this disclaimer of, though we are both Christians and we both have faith, we know that some of you do and some of you don't, but I think the themes of modesty are hugely tied to religion. So that will come up. And whether you are a Christian or not, whether you are an atheist, agnostic, you have faith or you don't, whatever it may be, we do hope that this conversation just opens up more conversation about modesty and what you think about it. So it's not us like imposing views at all.
Absolutely.
So that's what I want to say. But so what do you think? Do you think women should dress modestly?
Courtney, that's a loaded question.
Unpack it.
Yeah, let's unpack it. Do I think in the way that we have described modesty?
Yeah.
Then yes, by all means.
Right.
I think that women should dress modestly.
Yeah.
In the sense that they should think about how are they honoring themselves, or how are they honoring in the more spiritual sense of how are they honoring themselves through the way that they dress. However, the way that society has conceptualized modesty has very much, it's really transformed the word to become extremely, it's just far from what it was intended to be, or like how it was intended to be used, right? I think women should dress modestly.
What does that look like?
Again, that one is difficult to describe because modesty is also a very personal thing.
This is it.
And I think that when we start going down these kind of conversations, because ahead of this conversation, I was just on YouTube, you know, as well as just online and stuff like that. And there's a lot of communities that are invested in this whole idea of modesty and, you know, the way that you dress being a manifestation of your character, which is very much true in the very straightforward sense of the conversation. However, when it becomes a very collective thing, when it becomes a dictation as opposed to a conversation, that's where we lose the power of modesty. Because I'm very much of I think that modesty really needs to be a personal conviction.
This is it.
And I think that because of the way society and patriarchy has been implemented within society, the way that, you know, society dictates to women many things, modesty has now been used, as opposed to it being something that empowers women, it's been used to actually control women, as well as not only control women, but it's actually like,
it's used to oppress women.
That is it. Oppress women.
Yeah.
And it's like, if your personal conviction of modesty doesn't match up to the collective idea of what modesty is, all of a sudden, not only do you stand outside of society, but you are called horrible things, and you're characterized as horrible things, right? You become the whore.
You just the hoe.
You become the hoe. You become the thought. You become XYZ. And this isn't me glorifying very specific ways of dressing. This is me just saying the fact that the collective idea of modesty can be more oppressive than it is liberating.
I completely agree. I mean, growing up, the ideas I had around modesty, and some of them I do kind of still subscribe to, is you have to kind of, like I said, it has to be a reflection of within, right? It has to be basically, why do you wear the things you wear? Even in like, let's even forget the sexual elements. Okay, people think you're dressing sexually, or they think you're dressing suggestively, and they think you're basically out naked, right? That is kind of, people will obviously point to that and be like, that's not modest, cover up. You know, people often come to you and like, I'm thinking of like in church settings, when people come up to you and they cover your legs and like your dress is too short, or your skirt is too short, or they cover your shoulders, because this doesn't happen in our church, but you know, there's experiences. Absolutely. Or people will tell you, that's too tight, or that's too clingy to your body, right? And especially as Black women, there's a lot to unpack there. And I do think, though, one thing that kind of has to be asked is the things you're wearing, not just the clothes, but the amount of jewelry you're wearing, the way you do things. Is it because you want attention? Is it because, what's your motive, basically? Is it because you want attention? Is it because that's where your self-esteem is placed? Is it because you're prideful and you want to show that you've got it like that? All of that are forms of not being modest, right? But oftentimes it's hammered down. So when like men are out here wearing mad jewelry, they got grills in their teeth, they've got they got a Jesus piece, they're wearing all this stuff. People don't look at that and think that's not modest. They may say that's flashy, that might not be humble, but that in religious context is not modest, right? But oftentimes modesty, that word, has really been weaponized against women, and like you're saying, used to oppress them, when modesty is really just a reflection of the heart and your motives. What are your motives behind what it is you do? And the reason why I think it's quite problematic, and I guess we can move on to this, is why are women so disproportionately hit with this when it comes down to modesty? Like, we're here, sisterhood community, and we got to talk about modesty. The man they may really talking about. I don't think men sit around collectively and like, bro, let's talk about modesty. And even when they do, they're talking about women. Why?
That's right, Your Honor. That's right, Your Honor. We've just made a case here. Gosh, there's so many associated points that I want to bring up. So first thing that you said, insofar as it being disproportionately aimed at women, we need to think about the fact that actively women have been over-sexualized. Their body parts have been over-sexualized to the point of there are certain elements of, ourselves that we have to cover up. And the because of the male gaze, and it's not just the male gaze as in from men, but also the internalized male gaze. Women, as a result of the way patriarchy has been instilled, particularly in the West, there are certain things that women should not do, should not wear. And it's been taken so far in a lot of very, very conservative cultures within the West. So as you were pointing so rightly to, covering up the shoulders, covering up the cleavage, wearing figure-hugging, clothes. But even that, like, we do need to unpack that, because modesty seems to be applied very differently to different types of people. So thinking about, women, but like women of color in particular, where genetically some of us are very much predisposed to be a bit more voluptuous, quote unquote. So how is it that somebody that is a little bit more voluptuous is wearing a seemingly tight dress and is not modest in comparison to somebody who may not be as voluptuous, wearing the same dress, but is not sexualized? So I think the actual sexualization of certain body parts has made it difficult for some women to feel comfortable in actually wearing clothes that they like. Because they will be seen as, an extremely sexualized object. But the problem isn't necessarily her or, the item of clothing, but it's also the over-sexualization of those body parts. So there's dealing with that. That's a problem. Let's also deal with the fact that when we think about modesty, we always think about women. You would never see a guy, I've never seen this, a guy proper sit down. Listen, search up on YouTube right now. Search up.
Fact.
Somewhere.
What are the man them saying about the modesty distance?
I would love to know. If a guy was shirtless, you're not thinking...
You know what's mad, yeah? Because I often see this, and I use it sometimes to banter my male friends. But if I go on my Instagram stories, yeah, and I see you shirtless, like in the gym or something, I will actually message you, where's the modesty? Because why can't women can't do that?
But that's because you're a troll. You're trolling.
I don't care.
And I do the same thing. I'll be like, oh, farting.
A little bit of nipple was that?
Stop it.
Sorry.
Not nipples.
Street vest.
But it's true. It's like, why is the conversation always around regulating the female body? Why do we not have the same standard for the male body?
I think it's because the female body is often seen as the forbidden fruit. It's the Jezebel. It's the how do I describe it? Women's bodies are often seen as objects of temptation.
But then that's the problem. That's such a problem.
This is the thing, like, whilst we're saying modesty is hugely focused on women and people direct it a lot to women, the way people think about modesty is hugely, like you're saying, like, it's centered around men. It's how will men perceive the way you're dressed, especially in like religious context of modesty. You don't want to make somebody else fall from grace. You don't want to make anybody else tempted. You don't want to be a temptress, right? So cover up. And it's less of a question of my heart. And like you're saying, though, like when it comes to modesty and honor, you're honoring those around you, you're honoring God, you're honoring yourself, right? But oftentimes people see it as when I wore this dress, let me just give an example. When I wore this dress, I wasn't thinking I'm trying to thirst trap, I just wanted to leave my house. Just because you see breast in an over-sexualized Western civilized, to be honest, in an over-sexualized world culture, to be honest. Yeah. Just because you see breast, you see bum, and you think, or a little bit of cleavage, even if I'm fully covered up, and you think sex, that has nothing to do with my intentions. That has nothing to do with my heart. You have an issue with your heart. In fact, you even have an issue with your mind. Yeah? You need to go and fix that. But instead, the onus is put on me to fix the situation for you. And then men go unchallenged in their way of thinking.
This is it. Speak about it.
Men go unchallenged in their way of thinking, and we just make women conform. And that's why society is so androcentric. Like, you create a society that conforms to men can do whatever they want. They can view women. Obviously, these are mad generalizations, but sis, you know what I'm talking about. Like, men can do what they want. They can think what they want. And women, you will mold yourself accordingly to, one, unfortunately, protect yourself. Two, make life easier for them. And I think that that's something that we hugely have to challenge. And that's not saying women should be able to do whatever, women should be able to do whatever they want, which includes being modest or not, right? It's about personal choice. It's not about dictating to people, especially if the core of the problem, which is the over-sexualization of women, and sometimes the entitlement of men to see women's bodies as sexual objects. Why are we leaving that unchallenged?
And if we want to push it even further, this insidious victim blaming when it comes to sexual assault.
Go there.
If we want to push it further, it's really, really quite scary. Yeah. I think it's really scary that there are sexual assault cases in which the clothing or the items that somebody was wearing is used as evidence.
Proof as to why.
Evidence actually used. It's actually brought up as to why somebody should be a victim of what is clearly assault.
Yes, go on.
This whole idea of, she deserved it because of what she was wearing. She wanted it because of what she was wearing. Did she say she wanted it? Did you hear her say it? So why is it that because you perceived or you believed that you were entitled to somebody's body, that they now deserved your subjugation of their body to your will?
Through violence.
It's really quite scary.
100%. It is. And I think what jerks me so much and just grinds my gears about it is people often tell women to dress so that men don't make these transgressions, so that men don't get tempted. Why do we have to honor men with the way we dress, but men don't have to honor us in the way they treat us?
Ooh, that's so good.
If you can see a woman and think, the way you're dressed makes me want to abuse you.
Oh, that's mad.
Why is no one talking to you about your perception of women who are also a reflection of God, who also have intrinsic worth, who are also valuable human beings, no matter how they're dressed? A woman can walk out in the street naked. You have no entitlement to her body. You don't own her. She doesn't belong to you. You have no possession of her. And yet you will go and and obviously these are generalizations. Not all men are rapists. We know that. Yeah. But we're saying in the sense of we're living in a culture that has allowed these things to happen for too long. And we need to actively challenge them. I think now more is happening to educate men on the fact you're not entitled to a woman's body. And let's actually get to the root cause of why you are tempted by these things, right? But a man can see fully covered up, but just because of the way we're formed, especially for women who are more curvaceous, women who wider hips, bigger bum. You'll often see these memes, right, where people will post like pictures of teachers, and like she's wearing a dress, and it's like, this is so inappropriate for a teacher to wear, just because the teacher is curvy. And it's like, but if this was somebody else wearing the exact same dress, you wouldn't have any objection.
This is it.
So do you think there is something to be spoken about? And I guess this kind of goes into the body politics part of this conversation. Do you think there is something to be spoken about do you think there is something to be spoken about in terms of dressing for your shape? Do you get what I mean? Because I think that can be a very loaded statement when people say it, dress for your shape, dress for your size. What are people usually trying to say by that? Is there some truth to it? Yeah.
No, wear what you want. Like, I know that sounds so cliche, but genuinely wear what you want. Because it's such a loaded question. Because what does dress for your shape even mean? What does it actually mean, and to whom and why? When we say, obviously, folks in the fashion industry will definitely disagree with me. And folks who are stylists and all that kind of stuff,
no, but
feel free
dressing in a way that's flattering
absolutely
is different to when people say dress for your shape. They're basically saying cover up.
Yeah.
Cover up accordingly. And we're not saying please, because I can already hear like Christians just being like, so what are you saying? We can dress immodestly?
Go naked.
No. What we're saying is modesty is an issue of your heart.
It is, yeah.
It's an issue of where are your intentions. And don't go and try and lie to yourself and be like, okay, so I'm gonna wear whatever I want, like, because you can't, my intention is just to look good. Actually search your heart for why it is is it for self-esteem? Do you feel like you lack confidence? And when the things you wear gives you attention and it's feeding your self-esteem, that's a problem, And so inspect your heart in that way. And that's where kind of modesty is that's where it should begin from, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So then who do you think has caused this problem? Who do you think is in the wrong here?
Yeah, that one is a difficult question. But to come back really quickly on your point about dressing for your shape, I think we also need to be careful because we will start imparting in women insecurities that they don't need to deal with. This whole dressing for your shape. I remember when I was a kid, like I was super, super overweight as a kid. All of this dress for your shape or dress for your size. I was like, 13, 14, and all of a sudden I felt insecure wearing certain clothes. When I should have been worrying about, doing up coloring or going to school and all of that kind of good stuff. I think there's also something to be said about the way that socialization processes for girls and boys can be extremely damaging to them and feed into how they view themselves and how they view modesty when they do grow up. Yeah. So the fact that, there's the whole sentiment around, dress for your shape, that's something that I heard pretty early on. Yeah. Even this whole idea of covering up. I don't know how many people have actually experienced this, but like being a kid, like being 7 or 8 or 9 and your mother or your auntie telling you to cover up because uncles are coming round and stuff like that.
Let me tell you a story, yeah? When I was 11, that's when I started to develop breasts. I had to get my first bras when I was 11 years old. And as you can see, I got some. You don't have to look.
She got titties.
But I got boobies. And they developed from early.
Yeah.
And I remember going out with my aunt one day before I had actually got my first bra.
Yeah.
And we're just walking, we're on our way to see somebody and we're walking on this estate and a guy calls her over. It's another Ghanaian guy. So they're talking in our language and everyone's super friendly. And he was just like, oh, your daughter is so pretty. And she's like, it's my niece, but cool. And then he starts basically like brushing against my arm. And then he starts like feeling my breast and my auntie's like, what are you doing? She's 11. Wow. And he was like, oh, but her body's so developed. What the hell are you doing touching somebody you don't know, number one? Right. And number two, how are you trying to blame my 11-year-old body for you being an actual pedophile? ad pervert. I don't understand.
It's true.
And that was the most traumatic thing. And from then I was never allowed, but I was always told, wear a jacket. Because that day I was out in like a vest top, kind of like a razorback.
Yeah.
And after then it was kind of like, you can't dress like this anymore. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm 11. I've only just started puberty.
Yeah.
And this guy's touching me in this explicit way. And I remember like growing up, just forming earlier than everybody else. Bum came out, breast came out, all of it. The same with my siblings. It's like you'll walk down the street and men would be literally walking at me, making whistle sounds, just like I remember walking down the street one day from Sainsbury's, and that guy was walking like towards me. He was like, whoa, how are they so big?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, why do I have to keep going through this? And it's happened on many numerous occasions. Men will just be staring. The worst thing is when I'm on the train and the train is bouncing. The train is just, and I'm just there jiggling. Yeah.
Not jiggling.
Involuntarily shaking.
Yeah.
And men are just looking at you. And you're here thinking, it almost makes you start to hate your body.
This is it. The false implementation of modesty under the guise of paedophilia and entitlement has led to insecurities.
Perversion.
Literal perversion has led to insecurities on the part of women and girls from such a young age.
Insane.
Like when I say that, everything that you just described has happened to me in some shape or form from early on is absolutely wild. Even to this day, there are certain like dresses or certain things that I'm like, I know if I wear this, I'm going to get some kind of, somebody's going to say something. Somebody's going to say something. And oh gosh, even when it's hot, for example, it's a hot sunny day that we are recording. It's a day that you might want to wear a wrap dress or something like that. Something cute, and something that's comfy.
How sexualizes even that it's wrap dress season, or what is it? It's summer dress season. Sundressy rubbishness. Yeah. And it's just like what we wear is not for the satisfaction of men. And we have to internalize that and believe it. Right. I think you even see it in something as ridiculous as being able to breastfeed outdoors. The policing of women's body. Why would you breastfeed in public and show your breast to everyone? Because I'm feeding my child.
My kid.
The entire purpose of my breast.
The purpose of breast is
not for you to be licky. That's not the purpose of breast. The purpose of breast is to feed children and offspring.
It's actually crazy. And I think there's also a conversation to be had on the part of men as to their like early childhood experiences. Because there are a lot of men who have gone through either some kind of experience involving like hypersexualization of women at an early age. So I love the fact that you brought up the image of the teacher wearing something super like tight or curvaceous, because it's often really, really young boys that are encouraged by their peers or encouraged by like their older male fathers and uncles and any kind of figure in their life that, this is a sexual object or this is a sexual being.
Exactly.
And I think it's interesting, the messages that we send, young women.
Because it's used to prove masculinity, right?
Yeah, this is it.
If you kind of sometimes see it in films like, oh, your teacher's quite cute. Do you like her? Do you like him? Crazy. And it's like, no, I don't like her. Crazy. And then people, so you're gay? Like, what is it? And people use that to kind of gauge your masculinity. And that's why the over-sexualization of women is so linked to the culture we have right now about masculinity and what makes you masculine.
Women's bodies are seen as sites of conquest. This is it. The woman's body is literally a site of conquest.
Spot on, it's a quest.
This is why there's such an entitlement to women's bodies. This is why masculinity is so linked to women's bodies.
Spot on.
It's a site of conquest.
Spot on.
Crazy.
And it's dangerous. Bro. I'm not a video game.
This
I'm not a pornography video.
This is it.
I'm not a porn star. I'm a human being with feelings and emotions. Don't touch me unless I allow you to.
I don't even think we're ready for that conversation about some of the themes that crop up in very popular pornography and how that links to your ideas about sex.
Online porn, no, I'm keeping and soft porn and the way we've integrated sex into like entertainment,
everything
is so dangerous.
And it's
if
perverse.
it's not, it's so perverse if we do not create the right education around it, right? Because it's often romanticized. It's also it's playful. It's all of these things. But once you're exposed to that over and over and over again, anyone you see is a sexual being.
You become so desensitized to it, and you begin to
not a sexual being. Sorry, not a sexual being, a sexual object.
And you begin to actually enjoy perverse things. They are perverse. You know, sleeping with your sister is perverse. It's perverse. Or, you know, all of these extremely violent acts. And this is not to like, I know people have like, you know, sexual desires and stuff like that. This is not to, you know, shame you for your sexual desires and stuff. But also you do need to question, where do your sexual desires come from?
Yeah.
And why is it that you have such urges that are actually actively perverse?
This
and
is
in
it.
other realms are perverse.
And what did they...
In the context of pornography, these things are normalized. But in the context of the real world, these things are perverse.
Yeah. And what do they say about your perception of yourself and of other people?
Absolutely.
And the way you value other people or devalue them in some cases.
It's always, and the thing is, some of the most popular like pornography storylines always involve some kind of degradation of women. I don't want to get into the specifics of it. I'm not encouraging any of you to go and watch it. We're not giving you anything, none of that. But some of the most popular pornography like hashtags and stuff like that are really, really about degradation of women. What can be done to a woman? How far can you push her?
We need to do an episode on like, and sometimes even the role playing theme. Why is your idea of role playing to kidnap me? Why is it not exciting for me to give consent? Why doesn't that excite you?
That's good. That is good.
Why doesn't that make you happy? Why do you have to rob me?
We need to do a whole episode on consent, sex, sexual assault,
and like porn and all of. We need to, and we will, because you know nothing is off the table.
Nothing is off the table here.
Wow. So let's talk more about this body politics then. Let's kind of bring it back to when it comes to desirability, right? It's really topical over the last few months. Talking about desirability politics. What is desirable? What is not?
Yeah.
Is it problematic to have a specific desire or preference, both on the part of men and on the part of women, in terms of desiring specific body types?
Ooh. I think it only becomes problematic if you aren't aware of where these desires come from. If you're not aware of the root cause, and even then, you might be aware of it and you're still like, you know what, I actually don't care about this at all. This is what I'm desiring. If you don't do the work in unpacking why you have specific desires, then it becomes a problem because it goes unregulated and unchecked. A lot of us are very romantic in our idea of what we desire. I don't think there's anything wrong with having preferences as long as they don't rule or dictate your life. Like you might prefer, on the part of women, you might prefer somebody that's taller. But that doesn't mean you're not going to date somebody that's below, you know, XYZ. You might prefer somebody that is, you know, pushing weights in the gym. Doesn't mean you're not going to date somebody that doesn't do that. It's when it becomes rigid and when it becomes something that rules your life that it becomes a problem. And I think a lot of us think that our preferences are just personal to us. You know, that's just an us thing. You know, I have this thing. So I have this thing for, you know, X. We think we're so unique. You're not. You've
been conditioned, sweetie.
You've been conditioned. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't want to talk about the fact that they've actually been actively conditioned. They've been socialized. And we can break it down into the different categories that influence our desires. We've got society, overarching society, whether you live in the West or not. We've got our friends and family. You know, what do our friends and family think is desirable? Even if you think your friend's like preference is mad, you still have some kind of influence on their preferences and vice versa. The people that are closest to you often impact what you see as desirable. Then we have things like race and ethnicity and culture. These kind of things can also impact your like what is desired. And I think it's time that we had started having honest conversations about what feeds into our desires. Because if there's anything that's super unhealthy, that's when we can actually unpack that. And I think people are just super, what's the word? I just think they are too optimistic and they think too highly of themselves insofar
like
as they think delusional in thinking that they can overcome, you know, societal preferences. This is a lie, because I promise you, if we look at your last 3 exes, why do they all look the same? They all look the same. All of your exes have curly hair. All of your exes are not, you know, they don't go past colour N4 in L'Oreal True Match. All of your exes.
N4 is a cool tan kind of colour. Wow.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And this isn't to force anyone to like go out with someone that they don't find attractive. Because I think that is also the ghetto.
100%.
I think,
100%.
But I think that kind of that kind of rhetoric, when we're talking about like, you know, desirability, I feel like it disproportionately affects women than it does men, because I feel like the value of women for a very long time in patriarchy is very much visual. How do they look? How do they feed into men's desires?
And being satisfying.
This is going to sound mad controversial, or maybe not. I think that if you're a guy that is considered less visually desirable, because of the fact that you can pick up other status symbols for men, we have this, we banter about it all the time, but it's like, you know, if your wallet is long, all of a sudden you're looking cute. If your wallet, if you
say it all the time, money is a beautifier.
This is it. You can be 5'9", but if you can stand on the deck of your wallet, you can stand on the deck of your wallet, and all of a sudden,
strong.
And all of a sudden you're 6'3".
6'3" strong.
Do you get what I mean?
Stand on them bands, honey, all them stacks.
Stand on the weight of your wallet. All of a sudden, you're looking cute.
100.
Money talks.
Money talks.
But on the part of women, it's funny, because if a woman was to start, you know, picking up these kind of status symbols, like she makes more money or more degrees and stuff like that, she's actually less desirable.
It's like our feminine energy video.
Exactly. So it's very, very interesting, like the way that desirability plays out for men and women, and how much more women have to focus on being visually appealing to men. In order to have a wider pool of men to, I guess, validate them, dating,
give them value,
all of that. But what do you think about it,
Miss
Courtney?
That's so spot on. Like I think what you said is actually quite interesting, because you often do hear things like, how do certain rappers get girls, and the kind of girls they get, and people are like, money speaks, money talks.
Money does talk.
Which I think it's a very valid point in my opinion. I think what's interesting though is, I think you got the whole preferences thing spot on. I think if your desires lead to disrespect of another person, then it's problematic. And I think that's when you can tell it's not that you prefer this, it's that you detest the other thing. You know? Oftentimes when you ask people, you know, why is your preference for skinny girls? Oh, because bigger girls are Or why is it like all your exes are white, or you constantly date interracially? Because black girls are or because black men are and it's like, so do you actually have a preference for the thing that you go for, or do you just hate the alternative? Are you living a life where you're doing things out of disgust towards the other,
especially if the alternative is actually you, especially when it comes to like racial
when
preferences,
the opposite is
you.
And it's deep rooted issues. And I think that's when preferences become problematic, because they can often lead to like abuse, bullying, just unwarranted like insults for no reason, just disrespect. It's often reflective of a deeper issue. And I think we need to question those deeper rooted ideas and conceptions that we have in our mind about people's bodies, about people's skin tones, about people's hair types, about people's heights even, you know, to a degree. Maybe that one's less problematic, but you know, is it oftentimes masculinity, you kind of have that Prince Charming effect, tall, dark, handsome, you know, so then people who aren't that are kind of feminized, they're kind of seen as weak and things like that, and that can lead to insecurities in men as well, that kind of lead for them, sometimes can lead them to overcompensate in certain areas, especially in like aggression and things like that, or having to overcompensate in their work status, in their career.
The aggression one is killing me, Courtney.
No, but sometimes people are trying to just over demonstrate that, no, I am a man.
Man.
And it's like,
pipe down.
Literally calm it down. Like you don't have to prove yourself so much. Just be who you are and really do question. Like, I think throughout this episode, what we're basically getting to is really do inspect and question and sometimes challenge the way that you've been raised, the things that you have been conditioned and socialized to believe and accept through primary and secondary socialization, and really think about, why do I have these preferences? Why do I have these perceived conceptions about people?
Yeah.
And then really search that one out internally. Talk to people about it. There's a lot of articles that you can read. Use this as a starting point to educate yourself as to why you have these perceptions. I think that's what's kind of important about the preferences thing. Like, I agree with you. You can have preferences. Why not? I like my men over 6'4", but that's fine.
But then that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm 6 foot tall, babes. Yeah. Just to let you know, if you are 6'4" watching,
I am screaming.
My DMs are open. So when it comes down to then body shaming and body positivity, right? They kind of seem like two sides of the same coin to a degree. So what are your thoughts on the body positivity, I guess, movement, or just being body positive? Yeah. And kind of cyberbullying and body shaming, not only online, but in real life, like we were talking about before.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about body shaming first, because I feel like that one grew to preeminence before body positivity
100%.
Became a widespread movement.
Yeah, body positivity is more so a response to body shaming.
Absolutely. I think that body shaming is, to be quite frank, if you body shame someone, I think that's the ghetto. There's literally nothing else. I don't even want to over intellectualize it, because it's like, why have you spent your time actively trying to tear somebody down, and it's not constructive?
Yeah.
Like, it's not, how some people come to you on a tip of, oh, I think your body is unhealthy.
Yeah.
That's why I'm telling you.
I just care about your health.
I just care about your health.
Why don't you go to those people that are smoking 10 packs a day? Go and talk to them. So.
And I think even just our conceptions of what we consider healthy, we do need to have a check on that, because there are certain people you think are healthy, they're not healthy. It's just because they're skinny that you think they're healthy.
And ponder on that.
Actually ponder on that, because they will show themselves in the next 10 years. Remember, you heard it here. But in terms of body shaming, I think that it's just the most unconstructive thing to do.
Yeah,
like it doesn't help anybody. It's not constructive. It's not a way to help the person. And I think it's more indicative. I mean, we've been talking about the heart and the state of the heart throughout this episode. Body shaming somebody, I feel, is very much an extension of your heart. And I think a lot of people body shame out of their own insecurities. So when, people talk about, women that are bigger, or they talk about women that are skinny, because there are, skinny women also get it too. And
100%.
The fact that they're not, curvaceous. And then curvaceous women get it too, because they are
too
curvaceous. Somebody's always being body shamed by somebody.
Yeah.
And I think it's important as women. And I think that's part of the reason why both of us are so committed to this sisterhood thing. I think it's important that we make sure that these don't seep into our own internal female communities, because there is a lot of body shaming that it's not just held by men towards women, but women towards women as well.
Oftentimes.
It's cover up, you're showing too much, or you need to lose weight, you're a bit too fat, or you need to put on weight, you're too skinny, or you need to do XYZ. And
I wish you looked like this.
I wish you looked like this. And it's like, for who? Certainly not for you. Certainly not for you.
Focus on yourself.
So focus on yourself. So that's what I have to say about body shaming. I think it's such a shame. Body shaming is a real shame.
It's a shame.
And I think that the rise of social media has also been important in facilitating the rise of body shaming and normalizing it, right? Because you've got thousands of people that can access your photos and what you look like.
They
and
can even
like
comment anonymously.
Comment anonymously and say something like, "Oh, you've gained weight," or "Oh, you're looking a bit sickly. You've lost weight." I'm just like,
right.
I don't know you from,
about your health.
This is it. I don't know you from anywhere, and you think that you can have a stake in talking about,
And it's one of those things. Do you not think the person has thought about these things?
This is it.
Do you not think that, because somebody might be very insecure about their body, or maybe not insecure, but they're working on it, or there's something wrong, or or they may be completely fine with it. And here you are commenting, and I think people often do the shaming thing in any way as a form of power.
Yeah.
They're trying to show power over people.
Yeah.
I know better. I look better. I could do better if I were you, and you're not doing good enough. And it's easy to point the finger and not just focus on your own, whatever it is you're doing.
Business.
Mind your business. And also this guise of I just care about you. No, you don't. You really don't. You really don't.
I don't know you from
because this is
anywhere.
very, especially sometimes it's like, do you not think that this is hurtful? Number one and number two, these sorts of comments can only really be made, not sometimes even the way that they say it, but even like generally thinking, oh, you've put on weight. Those are things you can only say really and truly if you have like true relationship
100%.
and care with the person, and you've actually established through history and through committed actions that you care. Renee could tell me, you know, Courtney, this health issue, let's get that sorted out, you know. But then because you've proven you're my friend, you care about me, you're my sis, she has made plans for me, like actual workout plans. Let's ease you in. Any advice that I need, I can go and ask you. Why? Because you're in relationship with me. I know you care. There are certain things you can't say just because, you know, we're pally on social media. That doesn't mean you care about me. And so then to say, I just care about your health, we haven't got that level of relationship, and we're not in that level of proximity for you to make comments about sensitive things like that. And it is sensitive. It's like when people comment on women, you know, when will you get pregnant? Those are sensitive issues. You know, you don't get to just, there are boundaries. That's what I'm trying to say. There are boundaries, and you need to respect those boundaries. And weight is one of those things that in those boundaries, because they can affect people so much. You don't know where anyone is, number one. And number two, what gave you the qualifications to be so concerned? Because like you said, you don't know if anyone is really healthy. Okay, for me, you can kind of see very obviously, but I think in other people, being unhealthy, you can't really see that. You know, there are so many girls who years after the line of doing, you know, oh, look at my body, I look so nice, will come out and say, I've been chucking up my food in the toilet. I've been, you know, doing all these things. I'm battling with bulimia, anorexia, or body dysmorphia. I haven't been healthy, and I haven't been 100% healthy. My mental health is in a bad place. My reproductive health is in a bad place. But you really do have to decentralize other people's opinions in your life so that you're not living for other people.
100%. And if we are to talk about like the relationship between genders, so the fact that men will now actively comment, if women aside, but men will now comment, it's kind of like, why are you trying to get me to fit your desires? Surely you should just go and find the girl that fits your desires, as opposed to coming on my page or coming into my DMs and saying X, Y, Z.
Trying to get me to fit your mold. It's not going to work.
I don't want to.
No thanks.
I don't want to.
I don't like it.
I don't like it, and I won't do it. So mind your business. The theme. But
that's
moving on to body
here.
Positivity.
Yes.
Now, I think that body positivity is a good thing. I think it's important to feel happy about your body and feel comfortable in your body. I think that's something that is slightly very much underrated, because not feeling comfortable in your body can very much impact your standard of living. Just basic things like not feeling comfortable wearing the clothes that you own and stuff like that, or not feeling comfortable going out in a bathing suit because people are going to look at you and feel some type of way, not feeling comfortable enough to go to the gym, not feeling comfortable to do all of these things. It's like, that's not a life that I want to live. And I think body positivity is a great response insofar as it allows you to just feel free. Like it feels like an exhale sometimes. It's like, let me just be, I'm good. I'm good. And this is not to say that, this is not to just say that we shouldn't strive to be healthy, because I think that there's extremism in the sense that body positivity can be used as a tool to just negate the fact that there are actual concerns that you might want to take into consideration. This is not a blanket, you know, whatever you're doing is good, keep on doing it. This is a, wherever you're at, it's okay to be where you're at, but there's always grace. And there's always capacity to get better. I think that side of body positivity is great, and we should continue to embrace 100%. It. But the side of body positivity that says everything is Gucci, no, that can be used to just, I guess, brush a lot of things under the rug that people don't want to deal with. 100. So body positivity, yay, with a pinch of salt, but definitely yay.
Oh, that's really good. So then I guess we can touch on then let's leave it with like 3 tips that you'd give on women to build their self-confidence, especially when it comes to body positivity. Like you're saying, like, you'll stop yourself from wearing certain things because you're thinking people aren't going to like it, or you've internalized that. Now you hate looking at yourself in the mirror and certain things. Even on my own personal journey, I've been having to learn to love my body in all its forms, even though it's on a journey. I think it's learning that you don't exist just to satisfy other people, like we always say, right? And even like you're saying, sometimes it is that release, it's that exhale, because so many of us are literally in the chokehold of other people's opinions. And you have to just release that thing from your neck and live your life, you know? And it's not in arrogance, it's in existing. You're just existing how you are. And yes, you are a person developing, but like you said, it's just about existing and being happy in where you are right now. That's not the final place. Being happy doesn't mean there's no development.
Absolutely.
It's just, I'm happy at all stages of this journey. So then what are the 3 tips you would give to a woman who may feel insecure about her body, whether that has been through, you know, perverted modesty conversations or perverted modesty culture, oversexualization of women, whatever it is? What would you say to women who are insecure about their bodies but want to improve in their self-confidence and their body confidence?
The very first thing that I would say is get functional with your body. I think because we think our body is meant to do X, Y, Z, or like it's meant to serve this purpose of looking good for others and stuff like that, being super functional with your body, whether it be going out on walks or going for exercise or, you know, enjoying a meal, be extremely aware of the functions that your body actually serves, and maybe keep a journal for like maybe a week or 2 and just log the things that you're grateful for that your body does.
That's so good.
It was when I figured out that my body could do so many cool things that I was like, do you know what? It's not bad, you know, it's really not bad.
Let's pursue this and grow it.
Absolutely pursue this and grow it. So maybe pick up an exercise if you're not already exercising. Pick up something that makes you happy. Doing and feel like be very, very even meditative when you are doing those functions. Because the body does amazing things. It heals when you're on the brink of sickness and death. It keeps you alive and functioning. It's very much like your body is a wonderful thing and it should be celebrated irrespective of where it's at and all that kind of good stuff. So the first thing that I would say is get super functional and be very intentional about understanding the functions of your body beyond societal pressures.
That's good. I kind of wanted to touch on that as well. That's not to say to lose weight, right? I think it's important for no matter what size you are, even if you are healthy right now and you're fine, I think it's important to, like you're saying, use your body for what it was intended for and have a new appreciation 100%. For where your body is at and where it could be. You know, I think that when people say workout, it's like it's targeted at people who are bigger. Then it's like, just get skinny to make yourself happier. Getting skinnier won't make you happier. It's about learning to love your body for all its functionality.
100%. And then the second thing that I would say towards having more confidence in your body is being very intentional about discovering what you like about your body. A lot of us are so quick to go, oh, I have a fupa, or my bum's not big enough, or X, Y, Z. What do you actually like about your body? If I was to ask you top 3 things that you like about your body, lots of people will be out here stuttering.
100%.
And why is that?
100%.
It's actually crazy.
You've got to learn to get used to your body as well.
This is it.
Sis, you got to look at yourself naked. I don't know who I'm talking to. It may have been a while, but take your clothes off, start walking around the house naked.
Stop running
and
away.
Pause in front of a mirror and just look at yourself. Because I think sometimes we can feel so like, ugh, my body. Literally, people have like a disgust towards their bodies.
Yeah.
How are you expecting to ever feel happy if you're disgusted by what you look like and what 100%. You feel like? Something that I've even had to do recently is like, this might be so TMI. Do I want to say this on the internet? After I shower, do you know how long I spend moisturizing my body? Like, I spend so long moisturizing.
I don't think that's TMI.
Because I'm like, I just want to
take myself
in and I want to care about myself as well. Like, that to me is my moment during like the days when I'm like, let's touch, let's feel, the jiggly bits, the bits that all over the stretch marks, all of that, because I need to get used to the fact that this is my body right now. I gotta be fine with it. And to be honest, it's actually really benefited me, because once I leave the bathroom, I'm like, let me put on my best clothes, let me spritz that perfume, let me do, and you feel good.
Yes.
You feel good.
Yes, that's funny. I do that too sometimes.
Yeah,
You're
you
just
got
like,
to.
wow.
You got to. You got to look at the jiggly belly. You got to look at the back rolls, and you just got to think, yeah, but it's my body and I love
this
her.
This is it. So definitely, I would say just actually spend some time with your body, get to know what your body is like, what it feels like too, and stop ignoring her. And then the last thing that I would say, the last tip to self-confidence and loving yourself, put the phone down, shut the laptop.
I was gonna
go outside,
you,
or even stay indoors, but just unplug.
Just unplug.
Because you will be mindlessly scrolling and seeing this pretty person or this beautiful person. And this is not to say that, you know, these people are intentionally making you trying to feel some type of way. But if your constant exposure to social media is actually negatively impacting your mental health and the way you see your body, you need to like unplug. Because that's not the way. I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, we've seen it so many times where there's a scandal around a celebrity or influencer that edits or retouches their picture. Influencers have even come out on social media to say, I retouch my photos. You can watch how to do it here. This is not real life. The waist will jiggle.
Yeah.
Things will move.
Yeah.
You might gain weight. You
100.
might lose weight. Just turn off the laptop.
It's important.
Unsubscribe. Regulate your usage so that you know that you're not constantly exposed to things that force you to deviate from your norm.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Like, actually stop it.
That is
and
so
like
true.
Balancing that out with surrounding step 2, which is to surround yourself with your body, will help to regulate the parts of yourself that are telling you, I'm not good enough. My body is not perfect. My body's supposed to look like this. Your body is not meant to look like anybody else but you. Whenever we think about even when we're thinking about self-improvement, there's always somebody else that we have in the image.
Goals.
Our goals is always, I want to
benchmarks.
have this person's body.
Yeah.
I want to look like this person. I want to be X, Y, Z. Why are you never your goals?
Oh.
Why? Why are you never your goals? Why is it always somebody else? Why is the compliment always you look like X?
I want to look like me.
I want to look like me.
Simple as.
I want to be, I want to look great as me.
That's it. Because that's who you were created to be. That's you. And I think logging off sometimes, especially, it's not because social media is trying to force that on you, but it's sometimes because in our minds, that's how we're perceiving things. And you've got to do things which protect you and guard you in the way you're processing all this information and all these opinions. I think it's about forming your own opinion about your body and not letting, just decentralize 100%. Men, other people's opinions, even your family's comments, everything. Family, sis, they can be destructive with them words.
If you ain't too fat, you too skinny.
Eat some food, go lose some weight. Don't drink that, don't eat that. Then why is the food in the house?
Your son is in prison. You have other things to be thinking about.
No, it's nearly the end of the episode. We can't do that. Did I lie? I'm not going to. I wasn't even here. I wasn't a witness.
Did I lie?
I wasn't a witness to what you just said. So I just...
He's in prison, but it's my weight you want to look at. This man is convicted of fraud, but you are talking about my weight.
Oh, anyways, so, but yeah, decentralize people's opinions and what it is they have to say from your intrinsic feeling of self-worth, and define it for yourself. Learn to love yourself, but also for us as faith-based women, I guess that's kind of how we started this episode. What God has to say about us and the way he created us, just knowing that you are a masterpiece, knowing that you were made this way, knowing that you you are loved regardless, and that you have a right. One thing that I think has really empowered me when it comes to being a Christian woman is knowing that before I am anyone's girlfriend or anyone's wife, I'm a daughter of God. That's how I frame myself. And being the daughter of a king means whether you like me or not, whether you approve of me or not, as long as I'm in right standing with God, what he says about me is in my heart. Yeah. And he's approved of me. He loves me. That's enough.
That's all.
That's enough.
You aren't a mistake. You are good enough. In fact, you're more than good enough. As Courtney said, you're a masterpiece. There is nobody else on this earth that is like you right now in this moment. And yet you want to be somebody else.
This is it.
That's criminal. I think that's just criminal.
And you were made intentionally like that. So let's just preach to you.
Yes,
You were made intentionally the way you are.
You're actually stunning.
You're pure.
In your raw state, in your, like, if you want to wear makeup, cool, but in your raw state.
Look at the way you're even sitting there.
Can you imagine?
I know you might have a little crust in your eye. That's fine.
It's okay.
It's all right. Once you wash it out, you a baddie, boo.
We know that the bonnet is on.
Oh, look at you. You
My
were beautiful. God. Okay, and no one can take that away from you, right? No one. Go polish yourself, whatever that looks like to you. Make yourself feel happy. Walk into the sunshine or the snow
cute.
if you're
even the last selfie.
Places.
I saw the last selfie.
You are tantalizing. Heart eye emoji and flames.
Eye emoji.
Are you mad? Are you mad? You're looking gorgeous. Go and pose in front of the mirror. Show yourself. Yeah, that girl.
That's it.
You're special.
Just like that.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to gas yourself, you know. Yeah. You have to gas yourself, sis. You have to gas. Wow, we've really gone all around the house.
We really have.
But I guess to conclude, sis, you're beautiful. Don't
are.
let anyone take that away from you. It's a fact.
Stunning.
Oh, look at my beautiful friend.
But yeah, over here.
What an interesting episode, man. But we have talked about a lot. So let us know what you have to say about modesty and body politics by @ing us on Instagram @ToMySisterhood, or you can @ us individually @CD Boating, @Renee Kapuku. And if you are here on YouTube, then you can comment down below what it is that you think. If you're listening to the podcast on Spotify or on Apple or on Google Podcasts, or wherever they listen to podcasts these days, you can go over to YouTube to talk to us, but like I said, you can DM us, you can comment on any of our posts and interact with them, and we'll get back to you.
And of course, don't forget to hit us up on Twitter. We love to see it @ToMySisterhood, of course.
Yeah.
And join the mailing list,
yes.
guys. How many times do we have to tell you?
Yes.
We drop some real gems every single week on our mailing list. So visit our website and join our mailing list. The links will be below. Gosh, I can't believe it's that time already. But until the next episode, love from your big sisters. Keep glowing and growing.